This Myriad quilt behind me has been such a winner in my shop that I knew that I needed to share it with all of you in case you haven't seen it. I never knew that black and white could be as glorious as this. This is a free pattern by Libs Elliott with Andover, and this is her still collection, which had the entire gradient of black and whites, which really is a grayscale, dipping into all of the range of black all the way to white. There's beige grays, there's gray grays, there's blue grays, there's red grays. All the grays, all the blacks, all the whites, all the creams that you could think of are in this collection, which means they're also in this quilt. I don't know, is a 25 patch, is that like a quilt block? Because that's what I am going to show you, is one of the blocks which has 25 different squares in it. The block in particular that I'm going to show you is this one that has the 9 patch inside of it. So I can show you the fussy cutting, half square triangles, how to create the strips, how to make sure that all of these squares are ting crisp in their intersections to make this glorious quilt. So if you want to see what happens when you take great fabric and match it with a great pattern to create dynamic awesomeness in monochrome, stick with me. So in this pattern, there's only a few things that you really need to cut. These are the 4-inch squares for the half square triangles for this. These are some of the 3.5-inch squares. And then these are the 1.5-inch strips that I'm going to need. And so in here, I'm going to show you how I fussy cut this, which is the perfect size for 3.5 inches. And I am using this Stripology ruler. Okay, so I'm placing this center line right here, and I'm going to cut right at the 3.5. Boom, shake the room, and the 0. Then I'm going to do it again going this way. Let's do the same, 3.5. Boom, boom. And look, a perfectly fussy cut with that 1/4-inch seam allowance. It's going to work beautifully. First up is turning 2 of these larger squares into half square triangles. So wrong side, right sides together, lining up all of the raw edges. Take a ruler along the diagonal and draw a line. This is a friction pen, which means it's erasable or it can go away with heat. And I have already begun chain piecing these, but I am going to sew a 1/4 inch on both sides of this diagonal line. So let me just continue with this one. I am back stitching at the beginning and the end. Now I take the chain and I turn it around, and I'm going to go the other way along this line. So this is the benefit of chain piecing, is you can minimize wasting thread, and then it just keeps it organized and all together. Then now along these lines where we drew that diagonal line, it's going to become a cut line now. And this is what we got. Boom. Oh. So now we have all of the half square triangles pressed. I opened the seams just to make this tutorial as simple and as accessible as possible, because opening the seams will eliminate as much bulk as possible, and then you don't have to think about where things go. The next thing here is to trim them. All of these are going to be 3.5 inches. So now with this, I just lined up the diagonal line. Ta-da! Now I have to do this 11 more times. So now that I have all 12 of these trimmed to perfection, it's time to make the strips, which involve these 2 going together and these 2 going together. These 2 right here are going to create in the pattern this. So they're 15-inch by 1.5-inch strips to create this. Look, through the magic of TV. And then now this is going to be trimmed into 3.5-inch squares as well. Then this combination is going to be a trio, 2 ways. Sewing the strips together the same, doing the dark on the outside and the light in the center, and then the inverse of that, which is the light on the outside, the dark in the center. And then these will be cut into 1.5-inch sections, which will then be sewn together to create this 9 patch, which, as you can see here, are the corners in the internal 9 patch and the 25 patch. Now I just need to sew these up with a 1/4-inch seam allowance. To make sure that these intersections are as crisp as possible, I am going to use my Roxanne's Glue Based It. This is the accordion. It just takes like a little dot so you can see it. There we go. And now I'm going to match this right here. Make sure that's right in the center, and then heat set that. And then, especially since these are smaller, I am going to backstitch in the beginning and the end. And now let's see the intersection. Oh, boom, boom. Look at that. Bam, bam. So now I have all the pieces ready. I have the 4 checkerboards here, the 9 patch, the 12 half square triangles, 4 of these that I cut from that strip set, the center, and then the fussy cuts. Now let's assemble and sew a block. Oh wow, this block is gorgeous. And so just for funsies, I wanted to keep this tutorial accessible and as simple as possible. One option is absolutely to open the seams on all of these. Just sew this row, this row, this row, this row, this row, open all the seams, and then sew the row to the row to the row to the row to the row, open all of the seams. But what I'm going to do here, for those yearning for something more advanced in this tutorial, I will be advanced chain piecing this whole thing together. Essentially, how that will go is, as I'm sewing this to this, I'll continue the thread and then sew this to this, and this to this, and this to this, and there'll be one thread there, and it'll just be dangly. And then I'll sew this to this, 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 without cutting the thread. And I'll continue doing that all the way across. See, and then the next one, I'll just go right here and continue on. So see here, this is from the column all the way on the right, and this is the one next to it. So now I'm gonna flip this on top of here to continue. Now it's time to insert the third column. Starting from the top, doing it to that second column, continue. And I'll do this to the entirety of the block. See? Ta-da! Flippity floppity. This is what it looks like right here. So I will prepare all of these seams so then I can sew the rows together, but you're gonna see how crisp these intersections become because this thread is still there. All of the seams have been pressed open. This would have been an opportunity to spin the seams or press them all to the side to where they would spiral. That is an advanced technique that I'll card above, but I wanted to keep this tutorial simple and accessible. Once again, opening all of the seams whenever you're doing quilt blocks is one way to minimize bulk. Now I'm going to sew each of the rows. And for the most part, this thread that's right here in between each of the rows should keep everything where it needs to be. Before I continue, let's look at these seams. Boom. Boom. And here we are with the finished block. Obsessed. And this is the more difficult one. The other half of the blocks are only squares. So half these, half squares. And you have got yourself a gorgeous Myriad quilt with a gradient of grayscale that's going to knock your socks off. This quilt is absolutely approachable and doable. You can get the free pattern in the link below, and then the quilt kit with this still collection, creating this grayscale version, is available in my shop. I actually, for the first time ever in my shop history, am so confident in this that I reordered the entire collection just so that I could kit up 53 of these. That's all I have. So I hope you liked this tutorial and this quilt. I really enjoyed making it for you. And until next time, happy sewing. Like, should I get out of the way so you can ooh and ah? I know you can't see all of it in the framing, but you can see enough. Ooh, ah, ew.